Welcome everybody. We're back again. Tonight my guest is Allgoodz from New Zealand. Welcome to the show.
Hello. How's everything going?
Everything is all good over here. How's it been going with you?
Yeah, no, not too bad. Just, doing music and grinding and, just video clips and shows, all that sort of stuff. So, yeah.
Okay, that's what's up. So, please let my listeners know exactly who you are and what it is that you do.
Yeah, well, anyway, I go by the name of Allgoodz. I'm from Tite Bay, which is in Potiroa, Wellington, New Zealand. I've been making hip-hop music for about 13 years plus. I've been doing music since I was 4 years old because I used to play on the drums and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I run a independent record label called Allgoodz Entertainment, and I have a few artists signed under me, and yeah, pretty much just grew a team of video men, a team of promoters, all close friendships, and we just get together. I produce all the music, make the beats, we write the music, well, for a lot of artists that can't really write, and and just pretty much create music and then think about what songs we're going to do videos to, or what songs we're going to release, and then go from there.
Okay. So who would you say inspired you the most? I know you said you started when you were about 4 years old. So who was your biggest inspiration?
Well, it's quite hard to say. It's quite hard to say that because there's a lot of artists like like American artists like Tupac and Biggie and Eazy-E, and then there's like Bone Thugs and all those sort of ones that I grew up my entire life like listening to, and because I grew up in I was sort of doing a bit of rock music and heavy metal music as a drummer in multiple bands. And I joined this band, and it was it was a bit of hard rock, a bit of rap in the music. And I don't know, I just sat there and I was playing on the drums and all that sort of stuff, and I just thought to myself, I was like, I want to be there, because being a drummer, you're in the background and you don't get noticed, nothing, and it wasn't about being noticed, but I just seen this fella was like trying to live that celebrity life and be like the star of the show and all this stuff, and I just believed to myself, I was just like, I love hip hop, and then I was like, I reckon I can out-rap this fella, you know what I mean? It was still like that, like I sort of thought, I think I can be better than him, and then long story short, I just sat there throughout the years, everyone was like partying and doing, all my mates were all like working on cars and partying and doing all that sort of stuff, where I would just sit in my little room with my little $2 shop mic, my little little beat makers and all this sort of stuff, and just sit there writing rhymes, you know what I mean? And then eventually progress to bigger things and doing bigger, getting better gear and all that stuff. But I always had the love for creating music, and then just gets to the point now that sometimes I listen to some of my songs and I'm like, wow, that's me, you know what I mean? So
yeah, that's cool.
Really, it just gets to the stage of,
so
wow, I can't believe that I did this,
Yeah, so you're used to performing by now. 13 years in the game is a lifetime of being a musician. So do you ever still get nervous?
To be honest, no. It's not nervous. I get a bit depending on what sort of show. I've opened up for some pretty incredible international artists. I've opened up for Lazy Bone, Bow Wow, Mobb Deep, and R.I.P. to Prodigy. It was an honour to be part of his last New Zealand show, and, but like, and Tech Nine and all those ones, but like all depending on like who the artist is, like Bow Wow was an amazing experience because like it was the first time I got to actually meet this promoter. His name's Pato, and he's one of the biggest New Zealand promoters. Like, he is the biggest New Zealand promoter. He runs like One Love Festival and Bay Dreams, and always huge shows. You know what I mean? And he runs he does like the odd international shows here and there, and like brings the artists through like Chingy and Bow Wow and all those sort of artists. And he just like treated me so. I got there, got free drinks all night and got to perform in front of a packed out crowd, stuff like that. And it's more of excitement than being nervous, you know what I mean?
Okay, I like that.
Even like with Tech Nine, he had 2 shows in Wellington. One show was pretty much because we had a large earthquake and it actually like shut down Wellington City for like, no one could enter the city. Like, it was a big 7.8 earthquake, and no one could enter the city. And the first show was sold out, and the second show, which we were on, was like nearly sold out. It had, still had quite a few tickets to sell. And because the earthquake happened, and pretty much like a lot of the people that bought tickets couldn't actually get into the first show, they got to use their tickets on the second show. And then we ended up selling out the second show, and then all of the people from the first show all came in. So it was like at the Bodega Bar, and this was like one of the last shows at the Bodega, and it was just, everyone was compacted into this small little area. I was sweating before I even got on stage, you know what I mean? It was so hot and so electrifying, It's shows like that make me want to keep doing this, like when the crowds are just insane,
Yeah, it's like an adrenaline rush, right?
Yeah, it's an adrenaline rush, like no drug, no alcohol, none of that can ever, fill in what you feel when you're on stage in front of, I've performed in front of like 5 people, I've performed in front of like, nobody, you know what I mean? And in those positions of performing in front of like little crowds, use that as a rehearsal for when the big shows come, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's all about practicing and being all precision and trying to keep and trying to just keep at it, like don't think that no one's turned up to my show, I might as well just give up, because that's
right.
The attitude that you want,
Right.
Yeah, because even Tech Nine, we were talking to Tech Nine, and he had even said, pretty much, like in interviews that he's done, he's even said that, when he was trying to make it back, like before Strange Music, even when Strange Music first started up, he couldn't really get a crowd at all, right? People weren't giving him a chance and all that sort of stuff. So it's all about grinding and trying to keep going, and eventually, he sells out every show that he does, and it's all about, and that's what sort of like kept me going, was to know that one day I might possibly be able to sell out a show,
Right.
Being able to do all these being able to do all these international shows, pretty much. Gave me the feeling of, because you get to feel the crowd of what the big artists bring, you know what I mean?
Yes.
That's something that, and you get to see, it from their eyes, and it's like an amazing experience, you know what I mean? So being, performing, it's all depending on, with the nervousness. I don't get nervous. I more turn it nervous into excitement. You know what I mean? So
okay,
it's all depending on what sort of show it is. You know what I mean?
So where has your career taken you so far? Have you been here in the States to perform?
No. One thing I haven't been able to. It's not because of my music, and I haven't been able to leave New Zealand yet, because been like throughout, like I said in a couple of my statuses as well, like just giving advice. You've got to be willing to struggle. You've got to be willing to, like it's all about doing the hard yards of everything. And the aim of the game is I'm aiming for my music to hopefully take me overseas. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I've listened to some of your music,
yes.
And you definitely are skilled and you are very gifted. So I believe that it's going to take you all over.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, I haven't left New Zealand just because of financial reasons. You know what I mean? Like, just having to, because I also support a family and stuff. So it's like all about trying to have money. Like, cause like at one stage I was pretty much living off my music money. Like I was doing shows, making, the money varied. You know what I mean? So like at the end of the day, like sometimes I'd get big paychecks and stuff, but it all goes towards just my family. Like so like if I ever had like enough. Like if I had a job or whatever, like 9 to 5, and was making money from there, and then I started doing these big shows, getting all their money there, then, I could guarantee that I'll probably be leaving New Zealand a lot sooner. But the thing about it is, like I said, it's a bit of a struggle here and there, and it's just trying to use my music money to make more and to be able to progress in the music career, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But lately, I haven't really been able to pay the money towards my music. I've had to use it, to just, pay household things like, pay board or whatever, pay for food and all that sort of stuff. So it's like, eventually I'm hoping that my music will, get me over the,
Yeah, I got a feeling that this is not going to be a story for long. So keep pushing. Yeah, well,
I've been requested over in Portland. You know what I mean? I've got a friend. He runs a nightclub called the Effects nightclub. I think it's Portland. Yeah, and I've never even heard of Portland. To be honest, but he lives over there and he runs a nightclub. Well, he was running a nightclub, and I sent him a whole bunch of my music and all that sort of stuff, and we started playing that in the club. And then got to the stage where I was like one of the most requested artists over there, and then they all really want me to go over there to do a show and all this sort of stuff. So that's like even on my that's on my list too to do. I've got to go over to Portland and see what it'll be like to
Okay.
To have a sold out show, you know what I mean? So it's all in like different countries, but I always believed that I wanted to make it in New Zealand before, making it anywhere else. But New Zealand market's not very easy, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So what type of advice would you give to some young person that is trying to enter into the music industry?
Just, the simple one of what I got told was persistence. It's all about, like you get told to, if you really want something so badly and you go up to promoters, you go up to, whatever video men or whatever, the main thing that you've got to have is persistence. Like, if you ask them if they could chuck you on a show and then they say no,
Yeah.
you don't take that no as a loss, you take that no as okay, what do I got to do to get my foot in that door, you know what I mean? So it's all about, and then, I know it may sound annoying, but you ask them again, they say no, you keep, it works for some people, it worked for me, in the first, when I first started trying to get into the show, and it's just, I know it may sound like you're pushing and you're nagging and you're doing all that sort of stuff, but it's all about showing how keen you are. It's like, because I got told to do that with jobs, you know what I mean? Like, you apply for a job, and then pretty much, if you don't hear back from them, you ring them up, and you ask them, what's happening about that job? and then they'll be like, oh, it's taken, and then, you know, oh wow, you know. But at the end of the day, you keep pulling them up, come on, I really want a job, and eventually the employer or promoter or whatever, you know, whatever you're wanting to pursue will eventually be like, oh, okay, I'll give you an opportunity here, and you just grab the opportunity and you make sure that you impress, you know, you just make sure that you do, you know, do what you're set up. Because if you go up there and, you know, you just do like an average set, you know, of course you're most probably not going to get on the next show, or you're probably going to get fired from your job. You know what I mean? Like, it's all like, you just got to, you know, take the opportunity and make sure that you use the opportunity to make it, you know, to better, you know, make it better, you know, like, you go in there and show them why they've picked you, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's pretty much all, yeah, so it's all about, you know, hyping, you know, like in performance side of things, you know, it's all about just hyping the crowd, you know, making sure that they're having a good time, because when you're doing international shows, you know, they're not there to see you, but you're filling in the gaps until the international artist, you know what I mean? Like, so it's all about working, you know, and trying to keep the crowd happy until the big artist is there. So, you know, it's all about making sure that everything's good and everything's sweet, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so that was probably some of the best advice you could give. So any young, inspiring artists out there that's listening, persistence and consistency is probably the key to anything that you want to do in life.
Just never giving up, you know?
Right.
Never giving up. Don't take a no as a loss, you know? Take it as a learning curve to want to keep striving to try and be better, to try and do better, you know, because we're always learning at the end of the day. Like, I haven't perfected my craft yet. Like, people that say they've perfected their craft, you know, really they haven't, because, you know, our minds are constantly learning, and our minds are constantly, you know, gaining more knowledge to, you know, put it into, especially if you're a rapper, you know what I mean? You can't ever master your craft, like, not even Tech9 to master this craft. He's the man, you know, Lazy Bone, all of those artists, none of them have actually mastered their craft, because we're all still learning, and it's all a big learning curve. They've just got a lot of following behind them, you know what I mean? So it's all about, persistence, and to try and keep at it, you know?
Yeah.
Because there's been times in my life where I've wanted to give it up as well, you know what I mean? Because it's like, I'm not getting any money, you know, all that sort of stuff. And it's all about, I've just thought about it, and it's like, I can't let anyone, because when you leave, there's always somebody there to take your spot, you know what I mean? There's always somebody that wants to step in and replace you. So you just need to make sure that, you know, you can't be replaced.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
there's only one you.
Because my whole aim of making this music wasn't to be famous, wasn't to be big or whatever. You know, it was to leave something behind. So it's a beautiful thing, music and videos and all that sort of stuff. Because when I'm long gone and I'm long dead, you know, under the ground or whatever, I want people, you know, to be able to just click play on my song and, like, I'm alive, you know what I mean? Like, I'll forever be alive throughout my music, throughout my videos and all that stuff. It was just to leave something behind. I wanted to be remembered.
Yeah, you left your mark on this world.
Yeah. It was just to leave something behind.
Yeah. So, Allgoodz, it has been amazing talking to you, and I'd like to close out all of my segments by allowing all of my guests to give a little gratitude. So if you don't mind, would you just let the world know what it is that you're grateful for?
I'm just grateful to be here, you know, be able to live and do what I love to do, and to be able to, you know, not be given up on from my supporters, not to be, you know what I mean? Like, just to be thankful to be alive and thankful for the support that I've had, and you know, like I wouldn't really be here and be able to do what I'm going to do without people wanting to back me. You know what I mean? So I've got nothing but mad love for everyone that wants to follow me on my journey, because at the end of the day, I'll bring everyone. You know what I mean? Like you know, like I've always believed that if I make it, we can all make it, because I've always been very giving, and I always, you know, there's nothing about charging people for to, you know, feature on feature on songs and that. I'm all about opening up a door where like all aspiring artists that really want an artist that's been in the game and all that to jump on the song, you know. It's all about them paying homage or whatever, you know. I'm not saying I'm anything big, but you know, it's all about, you know, I just think everyone that wants to follow me and to be part of my journey and to, you know, not give up on me, because, you know, at the end of the day, we always need somebody, you know what I mean? And it's
very true.
You know, it's, yeah.
So let everyone know where they can find your music or follow you on social media.
You can follow me on Facebook. I've got a band page under the name Allgoodz. It's quite easy to find, ALLGOODZ. I've got a SoundCloud with a free album or free download. It's called Unfinished Business. You can find that on SoundCloud, Rory Allgoodz. So it's my first name, RORY, Allgoodz with a Z. And YouTube, you can find a lot of my videos on YouTube under Allgoodz Entertainment. So yeah, I'm quite easy to find. I've got a Twitter and I've got a bunch of other things, but I don't really use them. So it's more of the ones that I use. So yeah, and I always message back. You know, I'm not one that will snob anyone. You know, make sure I comment back to everyone. Make sure I message back to everyone that messages me. You know, it's all about love and sharing. You know what I mean? Yes. So yeah.
I love your motto. I love it. Just being as real as possible.
Yeah, it's all about, you know, if anyone can go out of their way and flick a message or a comment or whatever, of course I'm going to go out of my way and comment back and, you know, and talk to the people that support me. You know, at the end of the day, I always loved it when I was growing up, and I would message an artist or, you know, someone, and they would either shout out to me or they would message me back, and you know, it actually makes people feel like, wow, you know, like, this is amazing, they've messaged me back, you know. I'm not one to snob anyone, no matter how big my following gets, you know. If I have 1 million people, you know, I'll message back to all 1 million people, you know what I mean? So
yeah, it's the fans, it's the people that keep you going, that get you to those places, so you gotta make sure you remember the little people.
Yeah, you remember the ones that, you know, that they don't see themselves as being remembered, you know what I mean? Like, because I can guarantee, you know, there's more of them out there than, you know, people that want to be remembered, you know. There's just people that don't really care about themselves and all that stuff. So it's all about, you know, making you feel like people matter and all that sort of stuff, because at the end of the day, we only live one life. And if you're going to live your life all depressed and down and out, you know, we've had too much of that.
All right, Allgoodz, I want to thank you for this amazing interview. It has been so wonderful chatting with you, and I want to wish you all the success in your career, and we will catch up at a later date. So everyone, thank you for tuning in to In Reality. I am your host, Leah London, and don't forget to follow Allgoodz on all of his social media. And here's a listen to his latest track titled Now You Know, featuring TK.